In this video of Angular tutorial, we're gonna learn about Angular Reactive Form. Reactive Form is very important concept, and a lot of the time when a new developer come from either React.js or plain vanilla JavaScript to Angular, it is always difficult to understand how React Form works and what are the component or module associated with it. I am using the newest version of the Angular website, which is Angular Dev instead of Angular IO, which is nice, kind of cool. I like it. So for the basic controller, we first need the reactive module as well as the Angular module. Now, one of the main difference between normal standard binding and reactive binding is you have to use the form controller to be able to bind some data with the input field. So example is you can do form controller name and you can set the name directly here, or you can use the form builder also. So here is the example. It's an app editor, and if you have a name.value, you can set the value and you can use the grouping as well. So I like to use form builder instead of the form group, but this is also works. So this is one of a way to use the nesting object. This is kind of easier a lot of the time, but there are other approach to use form builder, which is I believe template driven form. So we can say so something like this. We can use form builder as well. So whenever you use the form builder, it also works. So there are multiple ways, as you can see in Angular, to do that. Now we're gonna start with basic reactive form, and then we're gonna move ahead to more complicated scenario. So I have this Angular app running with 42004 port, which doesn't have anything pretty much, and we're gonna see how we can implement just a name or some value, something like that, right? So I'm gonna use this example for now. So I have this app component where I don't have pretty much anything in the HTML. I just have this text. So first thing is we're gonna define the controller. For that, we're gonna come to the component and then we're gonna define the controller. Now remember that we need to be able to import this form module. So for any module we import, we're gonna go back to the imports and we're gonna import it. So this is the form module. Now we have the name already. So how to display this? So this is a good example. We can just use directly whatever we have. So we have the controller name as name. This will need to be matched with what we have in here. And now if we go back to our app itself, we'll see the name is here. Pretty cool. So this is nice. However, we want to display whatever we are typing, right? So for that, we can just use this. So assuming whatever we type, okay, so whatever we type, we have it here already. So this is how you implement a simple form. Now again, this is the simplest use case, right? How you sometimes you need to set a default value, right? Initially you can set that as well. This is my default value. If you now reload, you set default value. Now you need to probably have a button which is gonna set some value. For that, what we can do, we can add a button. Set value. We can just say one click, we can send event set name. Now this method is not created. What I'm gonna do is create the method. Now I can say that this dot name dot set value, set new value. Let's go back and run it again. Now if we have this value, if I click, new value is set. So this is how you set a value and get a value, as well as do anything you need to. Now you probably have a not one single value, you have multiple value. So for that, what you do is the form group. Now how to use a form group is using a form. Let's do, see the example. So I'm gonna copy and I'm gonna keep the form here. So you see this name is form profile form. I have a first name and last name. I can remove this. Now to be able to do that, I need a form, right? So let's copy this. Now this form is the one we define, and we have first name and last name, right? So we have the form control name first name, form controller name last name. Now as you can see, similar what we have done here, we could do the same from that value. So if we update, since this is a JSON object, we cannot do that. So let's do a different way. So let's do the first name and last name. Now probably we in the real-time scenario will have a button where if we click, we want to submit this. There are a couple of ways to do that. One of way is click and then submit. So you can submit and get the value. For example, submit form. I create the method and I can say log this dot form dot value. So now if we need to send those value, I could just call a HTTP method to send those value. For example, let's click on the button. If I click here, you'll see that I have this event. If I write something and submit again, those values are updated. Let's try the form builder. So again, the one thing I mentioned is another way we can do is using the ng submit. So we can just use this submit and then submit also. Now remember, when you use the ng submit, the button needs to be typed as submit, as well as for the example you want to be able to show is a valid or not valid, you can use this disable. So we're gonna see the example also. We're gonna copy it and remember we're gonna pass it here, and now we can just use the ng submit. We're gonna copy the on submit and we'll see every time we click on here submit, like for example anything we do, we see that submit values are here. This also works. And one of the thing that we can check is, remember we saw that we have a disable not valid. this works. Let's assume that my first name is always required and last name is optional. What we could do is we could do validators required, and then we'll see that our submit button is disabled. If you see, nothing happened. Now I can write my first name. You're gonna see this is getting enabled. We can create our custom validator or put minimum, maximum. There are a number of options in there. If we have multiple, we could put as an array, and we can say validators dot minimum length or minimum number, whatever. Let's say I can say 2. So even I put something 1, you see still not enabled, but the moment I put 2 is enabled. So this is another way. Now as I mentioned, you can do multiple group or multiple control. This also works. Let's see how we can do it using a form builder. So for form builder, what we need to do is we need to import the form builder module. So let's use our constructor. We say private form builder. Now what we can do, we can say this dot is dot FormBuilder dot group. Now here we can say name similar as whatever we have done. We can choose just name is empty string. As you can see here, it can be a array or you can just put a simple string. Both will work. Whenever we put array, we can put multiple like validators dot required, something like this. There here we put the default value, so we can say default value. Now how to use this form group, right? Now to be able to use form group, we need a form group to be assigned. For example, here if you see profile is assigned, but we already have this assigned to something else with the first name and last name. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna reuse it. Instead of this, what I can say is this. I can do this and this, and I can just put first name and similar and copy, and I can put last name, default last name, default first name. So this works. Now let's go back. We have first name, last name, so let's try it out. Now if we reload, you will see that default first name, default last name working, and if we remove, it also works. So this is a very good example of using all the required form related scenario in Angular. Now I have also shown like validation required. There are a couple of options, like you can use form array. So form array is used when a one-to-many kinds of relationship. So here is example alias. So form builder array, and in the display you can just directly do a loop over. And this is very important concept whenever you have a list of data in a template. So this is the newer version of form builder with the reactive form. In the future video, we're gonna see different scenario of Angular. Thanks for watching.